What's up, guys? Today we're going to be doing the top 5 $100 smartphones. So we're not going to go over 150. So I'm going to include mostly unlocked phones in this one, and then I'll include one locked one because I just really love it. But first is the Samsung Galaxy A10s. So this is a really good phone and it's extremely underrated. This is one of the more nicer looking phones for $100, as you can see, and it still looks pretty modern for $100 with the dual camera setup. You have a nice classic Samsung design. It actually looks exactly like the more expensive A50s and stuff like that, just without the crazy colors. But you've got some pretty good specs for $134. You have an IPS display. It is a 6.2 inch 720 by 1520, 271 for the PPI. Very nice. Android 9.0, and I believe these should get Android 10. It would be stupid if they don't. You have the MediaTek Helio P22 processor, which is pretty good. It's a budget processor, so don't expect a whole bunch out of it. You'll be able to run the latest apps, play games on low here and there, but it's not really for all that. Micro SD support, you do have that with 32 gigabytes of storage, 2 gigabytes of RAM. Now you have a 13 megapixel wide camera and a 2 megapixel depth camera, which is pretty good. Samsung cameras, even on the cheap ones, usually take some pretty good photos. So you also have an 8 megapixel selfie camera, the 3.5 millimeter jack. Now you do have the fingerprint scanner, and this is the best thing about this phone. You have a 4,000 milliamp battery. That's extremely impressive for a phone that's around $134, I think. So that is going to be able to get you around a day and a half of battery life, which is very good. Next is going to be the Nokia 5 for $100 even. Now I really like this phone because of the hardware. It's a really nice, beautiful looking phone. But if you're somebody like my brother, he breaks a lot of phones. Nokia phones are usually built like tanks, so even if you drop this phone, it'll survive drops, steps on, all that stuff, no problem. And this actually has some pretty decent specs, even for an older phone. It came out a few years ago. Has an IPS display, a 5.2 inch display. So if you like smaller phones, then this would be ideal for you. 720p display, 282 for the PPI, which is pretty nice. This does have Android 9.0, which is nice. The Snapdragon 430 is not too crazy. You will be able to play games on low, run apps just fine, all that good stuff. Micro SD support, which is very nice, with 16 gigabytes of storage and 2 gigabytes of RAM. You also have a 13 megapixel camera on the back with an 8 megapixel front facing camera, the headphone jack, and you do get NFC with this guy. That is one of the more important things. With a $100 phone, you cannot find phones with NFC. That's pretty crazy, so that's why I really like this one. Micro USB, so it's a really good phone. A 3,000 milliamp battery will get you through a day, no problem. So I really like that this phone has NFC. So if you're looking for something $100, decent specs, NFC is a bonus. Check this one out. Now next is going to be the Moto G6. So you can actually pick this up on Amazon for around $129. That's absolutely crazy. For $129, this phone is a beast. So in that $100 price range, just listen to the specs on this. It's pretty good. So you have a 5.7 inch full 1080p display. So for around $100, you get a full 1080p display. That is absolutely awesome. So 1080 by 2160. You do have a splash resistant design, front and back glass and aluminum frame. So that's really nice as well. So premium. I guess this phone went on sale for the international model, and it's just a really good deal. $424 for the PPI. So I'm just really impressed with that display. This is running Android 9.0, Snapdragon 450. So you will be able to play games and stuff, run applications, no problem. Micro SD support up to 250 gigs, 32 gigabytes of built-in storage, and 3 gigs of RAM should be just fine. So you have a 12 megapixel camera and a 5 megapixel depth sensor. So I'm not gonna lie, the cameras on Motorola phones, I've reviewed a lot of them, and they're not the best. So don't expect a whole bunch. But when you're outdoors, you'll get some pretty decent photos. Indoors, not so much. The selfie camera is an 8 megapixel camera, which is nice. You have the headphone jack. You also have the fingerprint scanner on the back with a 3,000 milliamp battery with fast charging up to 15 watts. So you get about a day of battery life, and you have USB type C on here as well. So this is a really good phone, one of the phones that I would recommend that you check out first before any of these phones. Next is going to be the Coolpad Legacy. You can find this on Boost Mobile, Metro PCS. It has a massive 6-inch display. It is a full HD display, and one of the things I was really impressed with was the hardware on this guy. It was very beautiful, a very nice phone. I felt very premium for $100, and it does not have a notch or anything like that. So big display, no notch. I really like that as well. A 4,000 milliamp battery. You do have quick charge 3.0, which is very nice. So you'll get about a day and a half of battery life, no problem. The cameras on here were actually pretty decent as well. Has a 16 megapixel plus a 5 megapixel rear camera and a 13 megapixel front facing camera. Took some pretty decent photos, especially outdoors. So you'll be pretty satisfied, I think, at this price point if you need to snap a quick photo. Android 9.0 out of the box. It's basically bare bones Android, so no bloatware. Ran pretty smooth. Just make sure you keep optimized and run your cleaners and stuff like that, and this phone should last you. So if you're looking for an Apple device, you can find this one for the iPhone SE for $134, or if you go on eBay, you can find one for I think $97, but it's not going to be in the greatest condition. It's going to kind of be beat up, but what I love about this one is that it does have iOS 13, the latest version of iOS. Now it's got a really small display. I don't know how many people are gonna like that, but if you like small displays, then this is going to be ideal for you. 640 by 1136, so it's a pretty decent display for the size. It's an IPS. What I love about this is you have Apple Pay, which is very nice as well. So you don't have a crazy processor on here or anything like that. No micro SD support. You only get 16 gigabytes of storage, 2 gigs of RAM. The cameras on here are a highlight as well. Out of all these phones on this list, this is probably going to take the best photos. A 12 megapixel standard camera works pretty great, and you have that selfie camera, which takes pretty decent pictures as well. And of course you get all the features, FaceTime, iMessage, all that stuff. So if you're into the Apple ecosystem, this is going to be something you might want to look at. So the battery life I've heard on this phone is pretty decent. It'll get you through the day. So I really like this phone, and that's pretty much it, guys. I'll catch you guys in the next one.